Be right back.
Uh-oh.
You want me to use your laptop or do you just want me to jump on mine? Whatever you want to do. You can use my laptop. Or chair here, Bobby. Let's sit side by side. Oh, I got to unmute us. Everybody's getting to hear us talk in the background.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
We don't have the video out yet. There we go.
Whoa, let's go. Dara, we're about to give the floor to you, but before we do, we wanted to give a quick moment to recap with everyone. What are some of the things that are causing a lot of this training to happen, right? So the first and foremost thing that we've been talking about was, making sure that, we're able to not only capture the data correctly in Epic, because we noticed that a lot of the presentations that were being, or the appointments that were being scheduled, whenever we hovered over the presentations, we noticed that a lot of our presentations were coming up from on the spot presentations. And so one of the main corrections that we've done over the last few weeks was making sure that we're adding our appointments from our appointment layer, because then at that point in time, we can help you have visibility on what appointments didn't run, right? And then work with you on figuring out what the plan of action is to follow up with those opportunities, right? Because every one of you on the call work very hard to be able to get that conversion to convert. And so, if we're not going back or having a plan of action to go back to those opportunities, we're losing out on a lot of opportunities. So, one of the first things that we talked about last week was, we had Tara go over with us how to be able to effectively log walk-ins, how to be able to log your activity from the task, making sure that you're adding your tasks from the respective layers, so your appointments, your scheduled follow-ups, because if you don't add them from that layer, you're not going to be able to then, of course, go in and select the edit button, which then, of course, logs your presentation coming from a scheduled opportunity. So that's what we really dove in on last week. If I'm not mistaken, Brian, I think we added that to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Yep. So for those of
channel.
you that missed last week's training, feel free to hop in there and be able to get that recap up to date. And then now, today, we've got Miss Dara Boatwright going to be going over how to effectively build these routes, which will help us continuously work on building more efficiency and also effectiveness, right? Because think about it this way, right? Our pipeline is our lifeline. So all of the work that we're doing, we have a multi-million-dollar platform that helps us manage a pipeline, manage relationships, and not leave anything on the table. Because if there's one thing that I know that is true, is that business owners like to work with other business owners. And true business owners manage their business in a way that helps them service others. And so, with all that being said, Brian, we're going to pass it over to Dara.
Pass over to Dara. Here we go, Dara Boatwright.
Come on, baby.
Hey guys, Not sure why I look so red. I don't know. There must be a filter that I can't get off, but here we are. Building effective routes. Of course, that all starts with our it's not changing my.
There's your pointer stuck.
Well, it didn't.
Your pointer stuck on my screen.
How do I get it
Unstuck.
unstuck?
Left click. Hey, what about the down arrow on your computer? Can you use a down arrow? No. You're just trying to make it so I have to run your PowerPoint like Tara made me do it last week. Is that what it is?
I don't know what's going on. Should I try to
Here we
can
go.
you see it?
Here we go.
There it goes. It moved.
Oh, did it move?
It moved on my end. Did it move on yours? Is it on the 10 volt?
You're not. You got to share. Share again.
All right. Geez.
Don't be laughing, Terry. Nothing funny. We can
So-
see you, by the way. Tina, y'all calm down. Simmer down now, Peepaw.
All right. Share. Share.
Here it comes.
Slide
Everybody started sharing screen. 30 minutes later.
from the beginning. Better late than never.
Well, there it is.
All
How about-
right. Are we good now?
Well, we're half. There it is. 10 blocks of time.
All right, all right. So it all starts with the 10 blocks of time, right? And so of course, in order for us to effectively build a route that is profitable in the field, is we have to make sure that we're logging good notes in Epic, and of course putting them, charting them appropriately so that when we pull our layers, that it reflects accurate data. So just plant new seed, every day, and that helps feed your pipeline. So plan to win and work your plan. Different types of leads. Just a quick recap of those. A follow-up is a business that you've been into and you have not met with the decision maker. A hot lead is a business you want to go back to within the next 2 weeks because you were given specific information that there is an interest. Warm lead is a business that gave you a specific month to follow up. We should have a lot of warm leads right now, just coming out of the holiday season. People were telling us, well, come back and see me in January, come back and see me in February. So scheduled follow-ups. Businesses you may or may not have met the DM, but was given a specific time and date to go back to meet that DM. Well, he's not here. Well, when is it generally a good time to catch him? Okay, well, he's normally always here Thursday mornings around 10 a.m. So that's your scheduled follow-up. And then appointment is a specific time that was scheduled with the DM to return, to meet with them and give them a presentation. So, of course, again, to build an effective route, you have to have your 10 block, you have to pull your layers and make sure you're logging those, leads accurately. And then, of course, knowing your industries, what kind of industries are you going into? What's the best time to catch them? Of course, in the morning, you want to catch your construction, your blue collar, your plumbing, electric. A lot of times we run into places and the boss man, is a working boss. We hear that a lot, because they're always in the field. So this is a real good time to catch your 8 before 8, and then lunchtime, of course, if your doctors are your decision makers, when is their downtime between that lunchtime when they're not seeing patients. And then in the evenings would be, your trucking companies, towing companies, or any other blue collar industries. But you don't know what you don't know, right? So you don't know that maybe this construction owner, you think I'm going to get there at, 7:30 in the morning to catch him before he heads out. Well, we don't know that, he may own 6 construction companies. So he does what he wants to, and he comes when he wants to, but you don't know until you go, right? And so that all goes back to logging those really good notes in Epic, making sure you're giving all the details. So, when is the best time to get in front of your decision maker? So how to prioritize. What we're going to put on our routes is, of course, our big rocks. This is going to be your main areas of opportunity for producing income and building your pipeline. So this is your enrollments. This is your appointments. This is your definitive scheduled activity that, is going to be your money-making opportunities, right? So that's top priority. And then, of course, after that's going to be your medium, your small blocks. Remember that we're in the follow-up business, right? So, it takes how many times to go back into a business on an average? Like 6 or 8, I believe. So we want to capitalize on those relationships that we've started, while we were in the field, when we're back in that area. So these are your scheduled follow-ups, your business referrals, your hot and warm follow-ups. Now, obviously, if you have a business referral and it's right next door, well, let's go on and head on over there. But you may have gotten a business referral from, someone from a business and it's in a different town. So making sure that we're putting that in when we're going to be back in those areas. And then, of course, finally, it's going to be your SAN. So this is just your new qualified leads, or, maybe you went and they weren't there. No one was there. The doors were locked, that sort of thing. But you want to make sure that your start times You want to make sure that you have enough time to get where you're going, right? So again, just going to really drive home that 8 before 8 and 5 after 5, and prospect around your scheduled activity, right? So where's your money making opportunities? That's your enrollments, that's your appointments. So we want to be in those areas and prospecting, building our routes around those areas. And then know your walk-in goals, right? What did you commit to? Hold yourself accountable to that number. So some best practices. Of course, if you fill your jar with gravel and sand first, you won't have enough room for those big rocks. And again, that's how we're going to make our money. So some best practices is knowing your committed numbers, right? Again, and holding yourself accountable to that. And leadership should be touching base with you, throughout the day to keep you motivated. Of course, keep that momentum going. Making sure that you have qualified leads, right? Not qualified from Google, but we actually made a pat call. We spoke with a warm body and that you've notated your gatekeeper's name, right? So this helps break the ice, so when you walk in, if, maybe Kelly answered the phone, she's your gatekeeper in your notes. You can be like, hey, you're Kelly, right? And maybe if she's not, then she at least, it may be the person that you're there to speak with, but it helps break that ice if you have a name to drop. And again, prospecting clustered areas. Some towns that we work in, if you say I'm going to work Tallahassee, right? Well, Tallahassee, it could take me, 30, 40 minutes to get from one side of Tallahassee to the other. So make sure that we're keeping that activity as clustered as possible. And then research. Your research on your new walk-ins, but also your previous logged activities, right? So logging, again, just bringing it back that all of this doesn't happen without having good notes in Epic. So sometimes when you go into a business, you learn information while you're in there. So that helps you with, not having to do as much research in the future, right? I know that one of my GAs give me a good example is that, of course, isn't anything that we're going to find on the internet anywhere, but the lady that he speaks with every time he walks into this business, she always has a space heater going, no matter what time of year. And so he's logged that into his notes. And so when he goes in, it's just a topic of conversation. It's just something to break the ice. So now it's kind of a running joke, about her space heater being on, no matter what time of the year. But just making sure that you're seeing your surroundings, and the more detailed that you can put into those notes will help you in the future. And it cuts down on a little bit of that research, right? The time that it takes to do that research. So when creating your route, you want to make sure that you have a good mix of new and follow-up leads. So a good rule of thumb is a good 50-50. Give or take. I know some new agents, may not have that right out the gate. So don't get overwhelmed with that. Once you prospect an area one time, generally speaking, you're going to have, follow-up. You're going to create follow-up activity from that very first route. Okay. So, but this keeps your pipeline staying strong, right? So that it never runs dry, because we're always going to be going back. We're going to keep adding new seed, right? In the ground. So what's in it for you? Of course, this organizes your week, and this increases your chance of seeing DMs, and time is money for you. So it helps you be more efficient with your time to make sure that you are generating money-making opportunities. So of course, we've built our route, we know our types of leads, we've got our layers pulled, and then we want to make sure that we're doing a good inspection. So we want to make sure that we have our starting and ending locations. Are you leaving from your home and traveling to your area, or are you meeting up with a supervising agent or someone in leadership meeting up with an agent? So we want to make sure that we have our meeting times and our locations on our route, and our start and ending times. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to get to where we're going, right? At the right time. So make sure, so your start time is when you leave your home. And is your route named correctly? So, an example would be, first initial, last name, the state or the location that you're working, and that date. So just a couple of little points of inspection, and then making sure that you don't have any overlapping scheduled discrepancies, right? So if anything's populated in red, we got an issue here. We may need to back up our time that we're leaving. Or maybe it's going to take me a little longer to get to this spot and this spot. You may need to move some things around. But do you have enough leads to work? So we ask to have 30 to 35 stops on a route. Even if you have an enrollment, that's going to take you half a day, right? Because enrollments cancel, things come up. So we want to make sure that you have enough activity or enough stop on your route so that you can get the activity in again to generate more income opportunities. So 4 to 6 walk-ins per hour. Make sure again that gatekeeper's name is notated in your PAC research. And that there's no NAs on your decision makers' names, right? So we want to know who we're going to talk to, and that you don't have any duplicates. Okay, so just some more steps when you're inspecting your route. And then research. Do you have enough research to build good rapport? What's your back pocket questions? So this helps engage your decision maker in conversation. It's an icebreaker for rapport building. So we want to target number about 75% of our route. There is going to be, give or take, there are going to be some businesses that you can't find a lot of research on, right? But you're going to get some of that when you walk into that business, right? So you see the stuff that's on the wall, or maybe they got a lot of deer heads, or ducks or fish, or whatever mounted on the wall. You have something to build on, that you can go back and create conversation with. So making sure you have research on about 75% of your routes. And not only are you going to inspect your route, but you want leadership. We want a couple of different eyes on it, right? Because you may miss something. So we want leadership to go back in there and make sure that they're inspecting your route following that. So that, you're intentional, reading on your notes. If you've been in this business, you've got 5 or 6 stops already logged there, and you've never met with a DM because they always say, he's not going to be here until after 4 o'clock, it's when he's, and so, but now you have it on your route. When you're inspecting your route, you're going in there and it's your first stop on the route, right? So making sure that you're being intentional, with not only logging, details in that when you log your walk-in, that you're logging the most details possible, but that you're reviewing that when you're creating your route so that you're setting yourself up for success, right? So nobody gets paid to do a walk-in, right? So we aren't out here to check a box. So we want to be, again, intentional, and go that extra mile now so that you don't have to drive those extra miles out in the field later. So just a little recap. Of course, it all starts with preparation. Brian says that all the time. Proper planning prevents poor performance, right? So utilizing that 10 block, making sure that we've got our big enrollments on there first. Our big rocks, which is our actually definitive hard set appointments and enrollments. Our medium and small rocks. And then finally our sand, which is our new leads, qualified leads, of course. And be intentional, utilizing all of your layers. That puts you in a position to win. And of course, where you place your leads on those routes matter, right? So that's setting yourself up for success again. Again, just the example I gave a while ago, you don't want to be walking in at 8 a.m. if he's never going to be there until 4, right? So be intentional. And again, just make sure that you're looking through those previously logged activity. It increases your chance of seeing your DMs. So that's about all I got, Brian.
All right. Good stuff, Dara. Thank you so much. Hey, guys, looking back at the training that we've been given the last 3 weeks or last 2 weeks plus today, and the one coming this Friday, as y'all know, we'll be in Jacksonville Monday. Everybody's in Jacksonville Monday with the home office for Worksite 180. So we will not have this training next week, but we backed it up to this Friday because we wanted to make sure you got it. And like Bruce told y'all just a few minutes ago, we were diving into the numbers, guys, and we found there were some areas of opportunity that we could improve. That on the front side, like Dara said, the proper planning, not just planning, but the proper planning could help you get better results. Get to that close and get to that enrollment quicker by making sure that, you're logging your leads correctly, logging your walk-ins correctly, building your route correctly, which, logging the walk-ins was Tara last week. Building the route is today. And then Friday, we're going to talk about making sure that you're logging the activity correctly. Because when we pulled it to see how many actual presentations are from a first-time walk-in, compared to an appointment that you had set. And you know, when you look at data and you see the numbers are just so far off that it doesn't make sense, it's a reminder that we need a refresher. So a lot of y'all, this isn't the first time you've seen it or heard it, but it's so easy to get into a rut of just doing it the quickest way, which is not necessarily the correct way. It still gets you to the end, but it doesn't give you the accurate data to be able to dive deep into your numbers to know what we need to tweak to help you get to that end result. Because like Dara said, we do not walk in, we do not get paid to walk in. We walk in to present. We present to close. We close to enroll, and we enroll to get paid. So all that other work does not pay us directly, but indirectly, because if I'm doing my pack, if I'm logging my walk-ins correctly, if I'm building my route correctly, if I'm logging my activity correctly, if I'm managing the dashboard data, and I'm using that I get better every day, then I'm going to get to closes faster, which is going to lead me to enrollments faster, which is going to lead me to increased compensation faster. All of this is about helping you get there quicker. Now, a lot of this, for those of you that are in your first 3 to 6 months, a lot of you should have questions from this training. And the reason we record this and put it on YouTube is we've given you this much information in this amount of time. I mean, that was a 20 or 25 minute, presentation for you. And there's no way you could grasp all of it in one setting. So what we ask is go back in and recap. Go back through it. Watch it again. Take some notes. Go to your AD and say, why is it again that we set, 32 to 35 leads in a route every day? And Dara told you earlier, but so many people miss this. Even when I have an enrollment, we have enrollments cancel, reschedule, or they don't sit as long. You find yourself being put in a room, nobody comes in. You're not going to waste your time because time is your most valuable commodity. So I would rather build a route of 35 and only need 15 than have a route of 15 and need 35. That's the proper planning that we're talking about, is making sure you're set up to win. Because if for whatever reason I'm not in an enrollment for 4 hours, I need to have a full day of activity so I can hit that number sooner, to get to that result quicker, to get to that compensation, that fruit of my labor, so to say, in a quicker time set. So, Dara, great job. Looking forward to the training we have this coming Friday. Terry did a great job this past Monday. That one's already on the YouTube channel. This one will be on the YouTube channel later on. We will have a Thursday morning quick recap, Q&A with some wins. How did you build your route today that helped you better this week? And we would love to hear from you on Thursday. And I know some of y'all built your route this past Friday, so you may already be in the field on the grind. But for those of you that are building routes today, or others that need to polish, tighten up your route, go ahead and do that so you can have better results on Tuesday and Wednesday. So when we get back on our call Thursday, we can get some wins from the field. And again, Dara, I could go back through this whole thing because every slide you had so much value in it. Guys, your research, your back pocket questions. I mean, I'm in Orlando today. This isn't AI. I know Bruce looks like AI. You can't, AI can't make this. They can make that because that looks good. You can't make this. AI will not build this. But in our leadership meeting this morning, first thing, one of the essays here was talking about how they walked into a business with their back pocket questions loaded. And yet when they got in, there was something else on the wall that steered the rapport. Hey guys, the back pocket question is for you to be prepared to build rapport. But whatever it takes for you to build rapport, Dara said it a while ago, rapport is where you're going to actually get the result that you're after. And by being prepared before you go in with not just research that you've copied and pasted, but actually read the research, and Dara, you had it in your slide, enough information in there to actually have a conversation. And that's where those back pocket questions come in. So great training today. Guys, if you missed something or if it's your first time seeing it, get on the YouTube channel, go back through it, ask your AD, your SA, your GA questions that you may have from this training to help you win. Besides that, are we done for today?
Yes.
Done for the day?
Yes.
And we will see y'all Thursday morning, 7:30 a.m. Kind of a little recap, Q&A, and wins. Be safe. Finish strong. See you Thursday. Love you guys.